I'd like to introduce our instructor for today, Lori Schmidt with the Scottsdale Fire Department. And she actually taught us a number of years ago over in the other building. So I knew she looked familiar, and Brad was like, I know you. So welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being up this morning and allowing me to come do this. How many of you guys were actually in the class last time? A couple of you. Okay. So this will be a nice refresher for you. How many of you guys have actually done CPR? Like on a real person? On a real person? Yeah. Do you want to share?
It's horrible. But
The feeling of it? Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. It's we don't normally go around pushing on people's chests, so it will freak you out a little bit. Understand that in the middle of the action, your adrenaline's going, you just go. But when it's done, give yourself that permission to, have your freak out moment, because you will. Like, what did I just do? Okay, because when we're doing compressions, it does feel like you're pushing a hole in the person's chest, right? So you got to kind of get into that moment. Well, yes, my name is Lori Schmidt. So I've worked at Scottsdale Fire Department for 13 years, which is kind of amazing to me. I never realized it was going to be somewhere for that long, but it's a great job, and I have at least 10 more years before I really can retire with that city pension. So I find really good ways to keep my time busy, and they seem to like me. So we're going to stick it through, right? My job I love because I get to work with a whole bunch of different things. I do our social media and our website. If there's an event, if you invite us to an event, it comes through my office. If we plan an event, it comes through my office. If the firefighters want to call, then they take care of that emergency. But if they realize that person needs additional assistance, they'll connect with me, and then I kind of play traffic cop with social workers, our programs, trying to get that person some extra attention so that they don't continue to call 911 for reasons that maybe they don't need to. But the biggest part of my job is what I'm doing here today, which is my favorite part, which is the teaching. So I help new parents with their car seats, I help older adults with their tripping and falling hazards, and pretty much everything in between. So today we're going to talk about hands-only CPR. There is a difference between mouth-to-mouth CPR and hands-only CPR. What do you guys think the difference is? Checking to see if you're awake this morning. Yeah. So it's all in the name, right? Mouth-to-mouth CPR is the traditional form of CPR. You probably were taught at some point, maybe way back in the day in school. That's the 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. We use that type of CPR for respiratory events, meaning somebody stopped breathing for a period of time, their heart's still pumping during that until the brain says there's something wrong and starts to shut down the organs. During that time, the blood is being moved, right? So the oxygen is being used up. So in those cases, then we have to put the oxygen back into the system. So respiratory event is a drowning, a choking, a drug overdose, those types of things. So they stop breathing. So 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Mouth-to-mouth CPR is for cardiac events, meaning the heart has stopped doing what it's supposed to do, and then the dying process goes on, right? So we know that we don't have to do a whole lot more than just compressions in that. We'll get into the reasons why we're doing that. Now there's 2 different types of cardiac events. One is a heart attack. Now, a heart attack is a plumbing issue. The heart is working really, really hard to push the blood through clogged pipes. Okay? A person who's having a heart attack can be talking to you. They're going to be in a lot of pain, but they're going to be complaining about that or not feeling well or whatever. Would you need to do compressions on them yet? No, because they're so responsive. They won't like you very much. Hey! No, so call 911, give them the medical intervention that they need, but that's pretty much all you have to do in that case. So remember, heart attack is a plumbing issue. Cardiac arrest is an electrical issue. Person could be talking to you, and then the next thing you know, they're down on the ground. So somebody turn the lights out on them. Heart's either completely stopped or it starts doing some weird kind of, what I like to call the jello shake rhythm. It does all kinds of weird electrical things. In that case, we're going to need to get to work, okay? Now, there's 3 steps to saving a life in that case. The first step is calling 911. You got to get those emergency responders on the way. The second step is performing hands-only CPR. And then the third step, if it's available, use that automated external defibrillator, okay? Now, the AED is the cherry on top. If you have it, use it. But if it's just you and the individual call 911, do hands-on CPR. You're still doing a lot for that person. Don't spend that valuable time running around trying to find an AED, okay? But if there's somebody else available and they can go get it, more power to you. Let's use it, okay? Now, who are we going to do this on? Well, first let me talk about why they came up with hands-only CPR. There were a lot of people who were dying from cardiac arrest, and the medical community knew that there were people around that individual who knew how to do CPR, but they weren't doing anything other than calling 911. So, of course, that's frustrating. It's like, this person died really kind of unnecessarily. So they started asking people, you know how to do CPR, what would be your barrier to performing on an individual in distress? And they came up with two main reasons. The first one was, it was too complicated to remember. If you've ever taken a full CPR class, they used to teach it, it was all of these steps. You have to do this head tilt chin lift thing, you were supposed to check for a pulse, you got to be really specific about where you're pushing on the chest. There were a lot of things to remember. What was the compressions to breath ratio? Because it felt like it changed all the time, right? So they were afraid that they were going to do it wrong because they couldn't remember everything, which then they thought, well, then that's going to get me into trouble, right? Which, of course, by the way, it won't. But they were afraid, I'm going to do this wrong and hurt the person. What do you think the second reason was? Germs. It's gross. You gotta put your mouth on somebody, right? And sometimes you don't want to put your mouth on some people that you know, let alone people that you don't know. So they started doing some research and said, okay, if we can make this simple, if we can take the ick factor away, can we get more people doing it? So of course they had to prove that doing compressions only would be helpful, and that's when they found out that when someone goes down to cardiac arrest, they still have 10 minutes of oxygen still in the system. So there isn't any reason to stop compressions to put the breaths in to feed the brain when it was already there. All you have to do is move it, right? So that was awesome. So we started teaching it. More people are now surviving from cardiac arrest than ever, which we love because more people are actually getting involved. And when you think about the fact that it is more often people that you know, that's really cool that you can be that person's hero. Send them home to their families versus the alternative, right? All right, here's the other reason why we want you guys to get involved. When you call 911, it can take about 4 to 5 minutes for us to get to you. If you do nothing for that person but call 911, their chance of survival is going down 10% for every minute that passes. If it takes us 5 minutes to get there, what's that person's chance of survival? 50%, okay? Not very good. You add compressions, it goes up to 80%. You add an AED, it goes even higher. So doing something for them beyond calling 911 really, truly can save their life. So we love that. All right, so how do we do this crazy thing? All right, the first step is calling 911. And people make fun of that phone that Nokia actually re-released it last year or something. All right, so we're going to call 911 and report an emergency, right? We always go over this because, which seems pretty simple, that you're going to call 911 when you need immediate response from police and fire, but we actually have a lot of people who call the dispatch center for reasons other than emergencies, and the number one is, hey, there's police activity in my neighborhood. It's not what you call 911 for. It's a non-emergency number if you want to be nosy, or just go out there and look. All right, so we're going to call 911 to get assistance, and there's going to be 3 main things that they're going to ask. Now, if you've ever played operator, what was the first thing? It was 911 operator, what is your emergency, right? Well, they actually ask where first now, because we're not calling for landlines. So it doesn't automatically populate that information into the dispatch center. So they will ask immediately first, where is the emergency? And I actually had to call 911 on the 101 a couple of weeks ago, and it proved to be true. Where's the emergency? And they're doing that so they can start identifying the responders in that area, okay? And you want to be very specific. Where is the emergency? Because if it's in Scottsdale Fashion Square, you gotta know where we can park the truck so that they're not hauling all of the equipment all over the building, right? So we gotta be very specific. Then they're gonna confirm what phone number from which you're calling. If you hang up or get disconnected before they're ready, then they want to be able to call you back, okay? So stay on the line until they say it's okay to hang up. And then the third thing, of course, they want to know what the emergency is. Now, when you call 911, you're going to get the police department or the sheriff's department first. As soon as you identify that it's not bullets and bad guys, they're going to transfer you, in our area, they're going to transfer you to Phoenix Fire Department. They're the ones who dispatch for fire for about 24 cities, which is actually a really cool system. It's called automatic aid. So it doesn't really matter what the name of the, on the back of the truck or what color the truck is. We're going to come to you. We cross lines all the time. Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, in this area, we're crossing boundaries all the time. As we learned in the other side, every minute counts, right, in an emergency. In fires or medical, it's going to count. So we have a really nice gentleman's agreement that we're going to help. The cool thing about this, if you think about New York City, our system is second only in size to FDNY, which means that if you have an emergency that's really big, we're going to be able to take care of it. All of the departments are going to come and help out in that. Okay, so the first step was what? Call 911. Good job. Okay, so the second step is doing hands-only CPR. Now we use this technique on people who are at least 8 years old. This is a guideline because most kids under the age of 8, it's a respiratory event. And what type of CPR do you do for that? Mouth to mouth. What's the compressions to breath ratio? Good job. Okay. If they look 8 to you, they're 8. That's a guideline. I work a lot in the schools, and I have some kindergartners that look like 5th graders, and then I've been in middle schools, and I'm like, how old are you? So they look really, so the age development. So if they look 8 to you, they're 8. Choose to do whichever type you want, okay? So don't let that freak you out. And then, of course, we know that the person has collapsed and is unresponsive. But how do we really know if they're unresponsive? Most of us can't find a pulse in these types of emergencies because our adrenaline is going. It's hard to tell their pulse from ours. So what we actually do is what's called a sternal rub. So if you take your finger and push right here, even just a fingertip right there hurts. If you don't think so, let me know. Okay? So what's a sternal rub is you take the knuckle and you rub really hard in that area. Okay? A person who's nearly unconscious is going to give you some kind of response. A person in a coma will respond. It's an involuntary pain response. So someone who is unconscious is going to moan, they're going to groan, they're going to move, they're going to push you away, then they wake up and tell you to stop doing that because it hurts. Okay? So do that sternal rub. If they're not giving you anything, then you can get to work. All right? So we're going to call 911. We're going to get the person onto the floor. Why do we want them on the floor? Yeah. We have a lot of cardiac events at night. So if we try to do CPR on someone when they're in bed, is that going to be effective? No, we're going to be pushed on the cushion. So you've got to get them onto the floor. Okay? It does not matter what side you're on, but you're going to kneel beside the person. You're going to do that sternal rub. Hey man, are you okay? You're going to place one hand on top of the other. Now, does it matter left over right or right over left?
Dominant hands on the bottom.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's your question. Checking to make sure you guys are right. Okay. So you're going to place one hand on top of the other. The heel of your hand is going to go in the center of the chest. Okay. And we want the heel of your hand because that's the strongest part of your hand. And you extend this out. All right. We were created with an amazing armor that protects our heart and our lungs and all of our organs and everything, right? But right here in the center is some cartilage. So we're going to place our hand right there in the center, which is going to allow us to push down and get down to the heart, okay? Because I've had some people say, well, the heart's over a little bit to the left. Why do we want to push over to the left? Well, we're going to end up breaking ribs that way, okay? I've also seen people try to put their hands like this. You're going to make it difficult for yourself, and you're definitely breaking ribs that way. So always put your hand right here in the center, push down on that cartilage, all right? Now, can you break ribs doing it this way? Yes. Are you going to get in trouble for it? No. Good Samaritan law is going to protect you. The only way that you are not going to be protected by the Good Samaritan law is if you go outside the bounds of normal care, okay? Meaning, I had this little, I call her the little Polly Pocket lady. She was really tiny, but she has a really big husband, and she told me, she goes, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do this on him. I don't think I'm strong enough. Do you think I could use my foot to push? No, that would violate the, so I actually was able to show her how to get some leverage, and she was pretty excited that she knew that now she could actually do it. So you want to be able to put your hand in the center of the chest, one hand on top of the other. You're going to lock your elbows, okay? Don't do TV CPR. Lock those elbows. Center your shoulders over the body. When you do that, you're going to now use your upper body strength and not just your arms and your shoulders. We're going to have to do this for 5 minutes. So you want to make sure that you are using your body strength the best that you can, because otherwise you're going to fatigue a lot faster, okay? You're going to center your shoulders over the body, and you're going to push at a rate of 100 compressions per minute. Okay? So back here, if I'm leaning back on my legs, I'm now using my arms and my shoulders. But if I'm leaning over, I can now push